Or
Okay.
maybe we can put that in your YouTube description right in this video.
Yeah, if any potential matches watching this, please reach out to him. These are
Sindhi matches right now because there are constraints. So we're
Sindhi
looking at
matches
Okay.
only.
yes, those.
On a musical note, is Ashik Banaya apne your favorite song because something is being made in the song and that the product thinking is in place. Very bad joke, but yeah.
Wow. Most random question ever.
So Sagar, welcome to the podcast, and let's introduce you. What are you doing right now? Where are you from? And yeah, what's going on in life?
Okay, let's start off. Um, Let me start off with the most cliched thing which I speak out first. I'm from IIT Bombay. I graduated in 2016. Then my first job was as a trader in Amsterdam. I did that for 5 months. And then I realized, hey, I don't like looking at a screen for 9 hours. And like just looking at numbers. I like to interact with people more and solve problems. Again, that happened after taking a break for 3 months and like thinking about what do I actually like to do. And then I got an opportunity in a political consulting startup as a program manager. So I was like, this sounds interesting. I might be working on multiple projects. And as soon as I went in a couple of weeks, they got a tech project and they asked me, do you want to do this? And I never coded. So I was like, I don't know how to code. And they're like, you don't need to think about coding. We have coders. Think about what to build and the strategy. Hey, this sounds interesting. And that was we did a 1 month project and it was used in 600 villages in 4 days of like after a month. It was a 4-day event. It was used in 600 villages across Maharashtra.
Wow.
And that was my first glimpse into product management. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. This is impactful. And this is something I like to do as well.
So are you an accidental product manager?
The more I read about product management, the more I realize that 85 to 90% of product managers, at least the OG product managers, were accidental product managers because mainstream thing is going on now. At that point, it was because if I had known about product management in college, I might have been more focused and like learned more about it and kind of maybe opted for those.
You graduated in 2016, right?
2016.
Or maybe not, right? Because whatever we study in college, we used to see it as like theoretical concepts and like mostly avoid it, right? But like going further in depth and also it is like your love also like you went into directly like the practical things and like just ignore that theoretical stuff and that, like doing it hand to hand, like hands on, right? On some of those things might really help you to basically understand it better.
I think for me, it was not about like product management is such a big thing or something. I was always interested in gadgets. I was always interested in kind of opening things up and looking at what's inside, what's happening, trying to repair things. At
Always
home, I
curious kind of a thing.
always curious. I was the one kind of who was given the remote every time something was wrong. And essentially that is also product management, right?
All the engineers have to go through that thing. If you're electrical, you have
but
to fix the fans. So yeah.
yeah.
So let's break it for the audience, right? What do you think product management is? Just put it like as simple as you can.
uh, I see product management is life. Again, I'll go philosophical a lot of times, but I look at management is life. I looking at understanding the problem and trying to look at the different factors which might be causing the problem, and then trying to find easy ways to solve it. Right? That easy word is important because if you make it more complex, it's harder for other people to follow. It's harder for it to be executed. It's harder for it to be understood. It's harder for it to be measured. So kind of you have to look at all those aspects. Essentially, that is also why I like product management that much. Because I like here I'm learning skills which are, I guess, foundation to problems. It's about problems. It's not about solution, which people get stuck on, which a lot of us kind of think as keep building a solution. It starts with the problem. Right? Understanding the
Very
problem.
true.
So
Because in the
that is
coding world also, right, we have the same principle where we called KISS, keep it silly and simple.
keep it simple, stupid. I think that is
Yeah,
what gives.
yeah, maybe.
So,
Yeah, so very
do
true.
you, do you think product management is just about identifying the problem, or is it more focused on the execution part?
uh, Again, it's combination. Like you try to solve a problem, you find newer, while solving you find newer problems, and then you go a level deeper. Okay, like trying to solve that and then solve that. Essentially, that is what like product management is life. That whole component can also be broken down in that aspect. Your life will not stop. You'll have one problem or the other, then the other. Right? So it's a loop. Like you solve it, then you find other things, you go deeper, one level deeper, then you try to solve them. So I guess there's like pieces to it. It's not independent of just discovering or solving, but both pieces are critical. But if you don't discover the problem well, then you are solving the wrong problem. So execution is wasted, all your energy is wasted.
Hmm.
So
True.
going in one level depth of understanding the problem, right? How do you do that in your, like, you are doing it like daily, right, as part of your daily work? So how well you go there and understand the problem from scratch? Because sometimes what we think, right, कि यार ये तो जो मैं सोच रहा हूँ, whatever is going in my head is the right thing, but it's not what actually is right in the market or what customers want. So how
Yes.
you want, matlab, how someone can go and really understand the problem, because the first part is that, right?
And just to
Yeah.
add
So
to my Sagar, so I
yeah.
think a perspective about what you're currently doing as a product
Huh.
consultant and how you're making the decision according to what the question is.
So let's come back to what I'm doing and how I am approaching this again. Uh, right. So for me, I started with that political consulting thing, then got into HR tech. Then last 2 years, we are building a mental health app. And that was pretty interesting because as soon as COVID hit, after I was on a break for 6 months trying to understand what's happening in the world and what is the most important product to be built, which has to be built at this point of time. And that led me to like mental health or like people's minds, right? That is like I think you clearly mentioned right now, right? What's like you think that there is a solution in your own head, but the problem is the like problem discovery does not happen in your own head.
Yeah.
So we kind of come to understand what's happening in other people's heads, right? That is essentially like the essence of product management, right? Understanding what's happening in other people's minds. So I was like, okay, if I have to be a good product manager, I have to understand what's happening in minds. So how can I learn that the best way? And the best way to to learn about anything is kind of go build into that space. So that is how I got this opportunity to work with two of my ex-colleagues who are building Being, and I joined and we pivoted to what we are building right now in the whole mental health, mindfulness, mental health space. And that kind of now I'm doing independent product consulting for other founders to help them go through that whole journey of uh, understanding the problem well. Right, I was on a 6 month break and I was looking at this whole problem for past 4 5 years because I was going through my own phases of figuring out what life is about.
So do you surf net?
Huh.
Yeah, so where exactly you like find the problems, right? You go over the internet, try to figure out what all is going out in the market, or you are more like interact with people around and different founders, right? Or what exactly is your way to do that?
So,
Like
so
when
there
you took your
there are
six
two
month break,
aspects
yeah.
to it, right? There are two aspects to it. There's a one aspect is do any job. Essentially, like people like, okay, I found an opening. Let me try
Hmm.
applying for it, and then I'll understand the problem, and then I'll go
Yep.
solve it. For me, with the mental health app, it was a problem I was personally facing.
Hmm.
So I was already talking about it for 3 4 years. Essentially, I was doing discovery for 3 4 years. Yeah, I was talking to people about this. I was trying to understand their point of view. And essentially, discovery is not in your own head. Then it becomes learning about what's happening in the field, learning about how other people perceive it, what problems they are facing. Again, so that is one aspect of if there is a problem close to hand, you can start from there. First thing, if you have some problem which you personally face, you start from there, then try to look at who is solving that problem in the market and then start work, like try to figure out ways to work with them. Because the more you work on a problem, the more you understand what you know and what you don't know. about reality, right? Essentially, you are discovering reality in that aspect.
Right.
So that's one. Or the other approach is maybe finding good people to work with and then look at what problems are they solving for. So you can go it from two sides, either look at a problem and then find the right people, or find the right people and then look at the problems and then maybe skip through if you have options. If you have options, then you will look for the best problem you would want to work on right now, which is the most interesting to you.
Yeah.
Else you might work on it and realize, why am I wasting time on this? So you have to kind of balance those things.
Makes sense.
And yeah, you can talk a bit more about what you're doing right now, and how is it different from what you did earlier in the role of, say, a product manager, and how you're applying your learnings from the past to the present.
Yes. So in my previous role was the role where I did product management, like the whole 0 to 1 product management of this mental health app for the first year. Then I moved into people and culture role for 5-6 months because I realized, hey, we're expanding the team, but the processes there are not that well sorted. And
Yeah.
again, the company became the product rather than the product becoming the product, right? You realize the problems in the company, and then you're looking at the most optimum, easy way to solve those problems.
Yeah.
So
Can you give an example, right, about that?
Yeah, as an example, let's look at onboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes like a HR problem, but when you look at it, now you're getting a new person in the door. That is like maybe acquiring a user. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're using your product, essentially the company culture and the resources you provide them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to you're looking at what output do we want them to kind of go through, what journey, what is the aha moment. Like you can apply the same thing to onboarding. You can apply the same thing to providing them benefits. What benefit would they actually want to have? What, like, again, all those pieces can have their own product management journeys, right? Trying to fix finances for the company. Again, looking at what are the real problems, what is must have for finances of the company, what is nice to have, what is good to have, what are resources available, prioritizing that. So you can apply the same principles across different. So it is like product management is not like a small bubble in the whole thing. It is, there are principles which can be applied to all jobs.
Even on to your own life, right? That's what you
Life,
meant
essentially,
about
that is where I talk about it. That
Right.
product management is life, because again, it's just a problem solving, a methodical way to solve problems.
Yeah.
And there is a mix. It is, and you have to realize like the terminology which is used a lot, like data driven or data informed, right? And a good product manager is data informed, not data driven. So that data informed essentially is the breakdown of looking at data, but also looking at gut and things which you might not be able to quantify, but balancing those two things out.
Got it.
And essentially that is what we do with life, right? A lot of times, like if you're going fully with emotions, eventually you will realize you made the wrong decision because you missed out on some information which was out there.
Yeah.
And go through those loops. So essentially it's like same principles here, and you can apply both things, like again, qualitative, quantitative. Again, it's both, like this skill is transferable to all aspects of life, right? Now let's talk about what I'm doing now. Now I'm figuring out a way, like I'm imagining that I am the product, right? With all my learnings, with all my strengths. Now, how do I find the right audience who will pay me? Because now for the product to, like, to sustain, you need money. Like that is something which I had pushed away for the past 6 years, because I was like, I want to make more impact. As soon as that trading job, after that experience, I was like, I was earning so much money, but like I was not happy. And I was like, okay, what is happiness? And then you read a lot, helping others, helping others, helping others is gonna give you fulfillment. So I did that. I tried to eventually doing those 2-3 jobs was in that direction. And in the mental health aspect was, okay, what kind of product can help 8 billion people? That is what led to being, right? As a human being, this is common problems, anxiety, a bit of nervousness, like having life problems coming in, because Elon Musk is facing problems these days, right? Like you see big, like people, like I listening to Skrillex, and he posted like a DJ called Skrillex, and he posted on LinkedIn recently that 2023 was a very bad year for him. And these are very successful people going through the same ups and downs like us. Like that is what led me to going into that problem solving. And then since May last year, as soon as the market went down because of the whole thing, the financial markets went down and all the startups started facing problems. That is when I moved to handling finances for the company, right? And that is when I realized, hey, like cash is so important, right? You want to impact the world, you want to change the world, you cannot do it without cash. Like you can try to solve the biggest problem in the world, but if your cash runs dry, you cannot solve it. So, and looking at that, I just like reflected on my own life and I realized that my financial systems were not that well sorted, right? I could rely on other people around me, my family and stuff to help me with finances, but as a product, as a business, or as like an individual, I had to look at my personal finances as something which are coming in so that I can sustain a happier life.
True.
So that is where I moved and I realized that will take time and kind of I need to figure out, and building a startup is very intensive work and I saw a lot of flaws. So when you're building something, you magnify all your flaws. So I could see all the gaps and I was like, okay, I need to figure these pieces out before I venture into next phase of life. So that is what I'm doing now, working as an independent consultant on the journey. My first project started this week, so it's like pretty excited for this new thing. I have to create frameworks, and again, working on a 0 to 1 problem with a founder who has an idea in the mind, who has a business which is kind of more services based, and now we're trying to create a product, do like understand, do the problem discovery, create a product, do an MVP and maybe a POC, like a POC in the next 3 months, see if it will work or not work, and then take next steps accordingly.
So you guys are a team, or you are basically currently working alone in this particular area?
So I actually collaborated with another product consultant. His name is Vaibhav Nanda. So he has been doing this for 2-3 years now. So I just wanted someone to keep me accountable as well, and someone who has done this, who has some contacts to start off with, while I build my own network.
Right.
So we're working together right now on the project so that there's accountability and like we can do like spread out work while I look at other pieces as well.
Right. So you guys are also taking the freelance projects, right? So it's basically like a freelancing project consultation that you guys are doing, right? So is there any way of approaching projects, or how do you guys are doing? Just only from your network, or are there any other tools, right?
So again, let's look at a product, right?
Right.
I'm kind of again going back to, let's say I am providing, I know that my strengths are product management and 0 to 1 products primarily, right? Creating something from nothing. That is where the gap which I try to fill in. So who will benefit from this? Again, I look at who will be the people benefiting, and primarily it will be early stage founders who have either found some funding but don't have a product in place, or who have, let's say, got like have not got funding but plan to go for funding soon and want to have a plan of action to show to investors that this is what we are planning to build, right?
And also maybe
So
don't have the budget to onboard a permanent product person in their team.
yeah, essentially that is the problem statement, right? Now you want to have that skill, keep building a product, but so how can you go and solve for that skill? You can either go and hire someone, which is very expensive right now in the market, right?
Right.
Even with all these firing, because with product management, you might get a lot of product managers, but the quality aspect of like it's right now the market does not talk about product innovation as a product management skill, which is like the biggest skill, one of the biggest skills in product management, right? Building something from scratch, because if you understand the problem well, it is a very unique problem. If a problem is very unique, then the solution is also unique, right? So someone has to think about that solution and be confident in the ability to push it out, to ship it, to get critical feedback and to improve. So yeah, so that is where like looking at who are the audiences who can get it. So essentially one is you either get you push, right? Again, push and pull. So you push, you put it out there, you ask people ki, hey, I'm doing projects in your network. There are founders, a lot of people like in the whole IIT Bombay network, there are people now trying to do it because now everyone is in like a 5-6 year like graduated, they've been 5-6 years out of college. Now they're feeling like I need to tinker. Some people already done it, but a lot of people are like, we want to build something of our own. So either you do that, or you do the pull mechanism of like putting yourself out there. So I'm doing doing more content on LinkedIn. I'm kind of refining that process out. I'm doing some Instagram stuff as well because I have a page on Instagram. So I'm kind of experimenting with that. And like 2023 is supposed to be that year where I'm doing that. So eventually, long term, you get more pull. You don't have to push out. You get more pull, and then you can have a seki with kind of projects are more interesting, which you would want to work on. But right now, I'll be open to different, like I'll be open projects. I'm doing one project right now, but in 2, 3, 4 weeks, I'll probably want to pick up another project so that I am working on 2 to 3 projects at the same time. I'm defining my frameworks and then taking next steps from there.
Makes
Got
sense,
it.
Sagar.
So I think let's go back in time a bit and understand about the gaps that you mentioned that you had taken, right? Be it after you came back from Amsterdam or during the pandemic. So what was your thought process of taking those gaps, and how did your, say, uh, attitude towards life change? Did you get more into the philosophical aspect of it, or were you not thinking about money, not thinking about the competition, what people are doing around you? Coming from such a prestigious institute as IIT Bombay, I mean, obviously, people around you would be grinding and trying to get to the top as soon as possible, right? So did that not affect you? So just guide us through the entire journey when you took the breaks, and how did that really affect you?
Or maybe you can start it from your college as well, right? If you want. So that
Yeah. Talking about breaks, I think the first break I ever took was after 12th, right? Like after 12th, before getting into IIT Bombay. So I took a 1 year break. And like I never prepared for IIT in 11th, 12th. I just was like, okay, I'm not getting a good college now. Let me just take a break. And there was a good IIT coaching in Bhopal. So I was like, okay, let me take IIT JEE prep. Did that for 1 year and like overdid what I was expecting. Got into IIT Bombay. No one was expecting that. So that was the first time I ever like took a break and realized, hey, it's not a bad thing, right? Like that is what gave me that small conviction in my head that hey, it's not a bad thing. But it was supposed to be like once in a lifetime. You never think that you will get into that phase again and again in your life. You're supposed to be like, okay, I'm in IIT Bombay. You've heard so many things. Okay, now my life is sorted. Life is set, right?
Yeah, that's what we all expect.
That is essentially, I was like, okay, now at 22, so I did college for 4 years, was never like the topper, but was doing decent across. Because I was like, okay, I need good grades to succeed. I did that. And then I got the job in this trading company in Amsterdam. And again, they took 2 people from India, from IIT Bombay, and I was one of
Wow.
them. Again, was something
That's
which I
great.
had not expected.
Yeah.
I went in very like free without thinking a lot or without being in a lot of stress or tension because I was like, I'm not getting it. Right. And that is what happened with my JEE exam as well. Okay, I went in without feeling a lot of stress and a lot of tension. So this interview also went very well and it performed well. Then I did that
But
for 5 months and
Sagar, one question over here is, did you want to get into trading? What were you thinking, say, in the fourth year? कि मुझे इसमें जाना है because it's high paying, or there was any other intention of going to trade?
again, it was like peer thing, right? Everyone was like either like I got shortlisted in this a consulting firm. So on day one, that was only one shortlist from the first slot, and there were a lot of people who had 5, 6 different from BCG, Bain, and all of these different companies, and I just had one interview.
Yeah.
I did that. I went into the final round of that and did not get that. So I was thoda sa dejected, right? Ki, oh God, like what's right? Because after this trading interview, there were not a lot of big companies, or there were not a lot of big shortlists I had.
Okay.
So, but then I went in and again I was like, okay, and at least I'm not getting this because like 2 people and the people who are passionate about trading, who are passionate about finance, right? I just done a small internship in the middle, which was in a financial analyst intern. And that I did because I quit my civil engineering internship in 15 days because I did not like it.
You
And
you have a civil engineering background.
yeah, I am a civil engineer by degree.
By degree.
I was actually a department general secretary as well, because
Oh,
I need a POR. I need a POR, so this looks like the most feasible one out there. So did that and realized, okay, I cannot do this for long. So the first professional break was kind of forced on me, because one day I felt that I'm not happy. I was crying. This was like 14th of Jan, 6 years back. Because I had that date in my mind. Saturday. It was also a Saturday. And the 16th I go into office. The day starts off decently on the desk. And then they call me in and they're like, "Ki, we don't feel you're enjoying it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not." So I was
so
pretty
maybe
frank.
would you like to talk a little bit in details about those instances, right? What exactly were going
I,
around, right? When you were in the office and doing your day-to-day work in Amsterdam, in a trading company, and what exactly led to those symptoms, right, of understanding yourself that you are not doing good there, right? Maybe it will help
yeah.
people around there who is
Mm.
basically doing work and maybe just ignoring a fact that they are not enjoying it, and just for the sake of doing they are just doing, right? So yeah, maybe your story can definitely help.
So let me kind of start up about break, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about break. Let's go
Yes,
there and then
let
come back
that.
to,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because I think it will connect. I know it will connect.
Okay.
So this instance where we had the discussion and they realized that there was some mistakes from their end which led to this happening. They acknowledged that as well. But we realized that things will not change, right? So even if I stick around, the way things are working there obviously will not change. They'll not change for me, right? So then the discussion was, okay, do you want to end this and it will save both of us time? And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because if I cannot continue doing this. I'm not happy. So then I came back to India, right? Like end of Jan. I came back to India and I was like, okay, I'll figure out something. But this was right after demonetization. So there were not a lot of jobs. Uh, Campus placements in from the junior batch did not go very well. So those are key indicators which were telling me, okay, this market is bad. Essentially, like the market right now, right?
Yeah.
This is very similar. Like the things are very similar to what people will experience right now. You'll see that there are not a lot of jobs. You'll see that uh, you don't know what you're really interested in. People kind of hopping from job to job, and if you're getting some opportunity to make money, people are just doing that. But right now you'll kind of have to sit down and think what to do. And I was in that period for 3 months back and home in Bhopal. So I moved from Amsterdam to Bhopal, right? And like severe self-doubt for 3 months, because I was not getting a new role. I had no clarity about what I like to do. So started reading more around, like reading more, learning more, listening to more people. I like, okay, I need to figure this out. Like, because I just feel very inadequate. Like, and I just have an IIT Bombay degree, but it just doesn't mean anything right now at this stage. And eventually, when I was like on a very low at that point of time, I got this opportunity in this political consulting startup. So got there. I like, it looks like a good opportunity because I'll be able to like a program manager role at that point of time. So they're like, we'll do a lot of different tech projects also. We do a lot of different projects for a political party, big political party. So like, this sounds interesting. Let me go in and at least try things out. And that is like in 2 weeks, I got this product management, and I got like that worst moment in life led me to the best thing which I found, which was product management.
So this is
Right.
the first time you are getting into this product management field, right?
Yeah. So that is how I got into product management.
Got it.
Right. And I heard
From
about product.
politics.
Huh?
From
From
politics.
politics. Just kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, inside politics. So it was at
Yeah.
that time I was like, okay, I've seen finance, and I've realized that is something which does not impact, like as a trading company, you're buying from rich people, you're selling to rich people. Primarily, that is what it is.
Right.
Right? There's no clear impact. Maybe now I understand impact of trading or like stocks and like the whole IPOs and stuff. Now I understand that whole industry. Earlier, I did not see a lot of value being added there. So politics at least felt like, okay, it impacts people. Like it's directly impacts people. You are making policies for people.
Yeah.
So I'll go into this field and I'll learn about it, because I don't want to be someone who is sitting on the outside and just scribbling, because that is what we always did. College students, we had no idea about
Yeah.
politics, right? So like, let me go in and understand that. Did that for 1.5 years, build a product. Then again, at one point of time, there was this thing of I want to impact, and politics I realized was not directly impacting. It was again more about getting more votes. So when we were pitching projects which would actually be about taking more feedback and then revamping our policies, those received more pushback. So then I was like, okay, I think I need to quit. And then, so the first break made me realize that, hey, my time is important. And I don't want to just like keep doing things for the sake of money. Right. So that is why, like, every time, and those two things, right? Ki leaving a job and getting another job are two different decisions. That is a very important thing which people miss out.
Yes.
Right. People just think, okay, I want to leave this job, so I need another job. And who is giving me the next job? That also, again, there's a bit of privilege and entitlement there, that having money, like I saved up some money from the Amsterdam job as well, because it was a foreign job, so I was earning more than I was spending, and I brought it back to India. That was one thing. I come in from a family which has money, so even though, like, if something went severely wrong and I did not get anything, don't have to send money back home, right? People are not dependent on me for money. Says, okay, if I have these privileges, how can I use it well? Right? You can look at it like, why am I doing it while others cannot do it? Or you can look at it as, okay, I have this. Let me work with what I have. Right? So that is where the whole thing of, okay, every time I quit a job, I take a break. That is where it came in from. Okay, I take a break, and luckily, like, the privilege of having some savings, having a good college, essentially that opens a lot of doors. And what is the worst that can happen? I just thought about that, and I realized that what is the worst is I'll get less pay. Right? I'll get work, but I'll not get as competent a salary as someone else, let's say.
Okay.
But that was an okay trade-off for me at that point of time. Because that has happened. Every time I switch jobs, because I'm not in a job, I have less negotiating power when I'm asking for salaries.
Good. But that is not a factor which is affecting you, because your priority is more on something that fulfills you, right? When you're working in a particular role.
Yeah. So for the past 6 years, my focus was, since I don't have a lot of liabilities, I don't have a family to feed, I'm not married, and the whole thing, right? People have money to send back. So okay, this is the only period where I have less responsibilities, because the further ahead you go, like, you have more responsibilities coming in.
Correct.
So okay, let me take this risk right now, because this is the time where I can take the most risk. Right? As listening to a lot of, I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee at one point of time.
Yeah.
Right. And that, like, he motivated me in that sense, because he was always talking about, like, realizing that your 20s are the time where you have to experiment, because the further ahead, the older you get, the less risk-taking abilities you have. So that is where it kind of kept pushing me. I have that always in my ear, listening to his podcast. So I was like, okay, because people around me were always saying the same thing, right? How can you, like, quit? You're not making enough money, or what are you doing with your life? Or, like, you were in Amsterdam and now you are here. And I was like, I'm happier right now in my head, right? I had because obviously there were a lot of problems as well, but then I could see that it was still better than the feeling I had on 14th of Jan 2017. That day was like a marker in my head. This, I have felt worse. I have felt bad with a lot of money, with living in a foreign country, with having a job, a office which had Friday night parties and, like, unlimited bars, and I was traveling around in Europe. So I had that lifestyle, but I had felt a feeling which I like I cannot live with this feeling.
Yeah, you don't belong there.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand that feeling, right? Because I just want you to talk about that feeling, because I have observed, right, in your various phases of your career transitioning, right? You are continuously asking yourself to make more impact, right? Where is that coming from, right? Is something it's coming from your childhood, or like it's something coming as like from your later part of journey, where you started listening to other people and like leveraging your privileges of being financially independent and not not having enough responsibilities to fulfill
Mhm.
on, right, at this career, at this point of time in your life.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to solve this mystery puzzle, right? Where is that
Yeah,
impact thing is coming into your mind? What it means to you? Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
let's look at again that day when I did not feel well. So that will kind of give us
Hmm.
the opposite side, right? Because that day
Right.
I've had kind of reflected ki, hey, that made me question what was driving me all this time,
Hmm.
Hmm.
right? Because if money was not hell, like money, living in a foreign country, like what was
Hmm.
driving me? And that
Right.
is what made me think about, okay, there's one angle was I was trying to help people. So becoming the department general secretary also was coming in from ki there were so many problems I saw in the department. I was like, okay, let me, and I was facing them, I was feeling them. So I was like, okay, I am feeling this, let me go in and try to solve this. So I always felt like that problem solver mode in my head. Okay, I wanted to solve problems for people, and that trading job did not feel like real problem solving. When you're coming, maybe you're living in
Got it.
Amsterdam and you're from India, and you're seeing people living in, like, again, when you have privilege, you realize people have less privilege.
Hmm.
True.
So I was like, okay, is there a way I can help people? Because a lot of your privilege which you have, the pros you have in your life, you did not choose, right? Like you were born in a family, you are born with like resources, so you did not choose. So that means you could have been born in a place where you did not have enough of those resources, and you could have been the same amount of smart and the same amount of compassionate and all of these qualities, but you still would not have been at the same place.
Hmm.
So at that point my brain went into ki, how can I help more people? And like now in this 6 years, like last 2 years working with psychologists and working there's some elements of like some other issues as well in that aspect. Like there's always a blend, there's not just a only like thing of helping other people, but there's some angle of, it's called a savior complex, where you try to save other people
Yeah.
to kind of, because you don't want to sit with your own feelings or discomfort. So it's like a blend, and that essentially that is why I wanted to kind of see where is this coming in from, this drive is coming from. And then I started reading more about success and happiness. So that is also where you start seeing that like all the people who are successful, who are happy, eventually after they like I started researching what happens after people are successful, right? I
Okay.
s- I like consciously did not read more about how to be successful, but I just started reading more, listening to more people who are already successful and what were they saying about what is making them happy, what is success for them, how has the definition changed. And then a lot of like the common term was impacting other people, helping other people, right? That will make you, give you more fulfillment than trying to achieve, gather things for yourself, getting more, having a bigger house. And in the society, a lot of that was done through previous generations, it was done through raising a family, right? Because that is what the pressure with like with males and with a lot of people in the community is. You get married, then you have to take responsibility of your partner, because at like 2 3 generations back females were not working that much,
Hmm.
right? And then you have a kid and then you take raise them, and that will give you happiness. And that is the right now as well, right? He, like, why our family pushing, like my family is now pushing me to get married, or like you get married because they feel that that will make me happy.
The bar that has been set long back, right, has to be changed now, basically.
Because now you can impact. Now you can actually do that in sitting in your room, which was harder earlier. Earlier, it was hard work to impact people. Earlier, it was more, you had to go out in the field. You had to like actually like, yeah, like 200 years back was, what was that? Like more of it was farming, right? You had to put a lot more energy for less impact. To impact more, you had to be someone like a minister, like Gandhi, right? People remember those names. Right
True.
now, you can be in your room and impact people, and no one will know your name, and you can still feel the same amount of happiness.
You don't need
Earlier, you
social
had to,
validation now, right? It's more about the happiness that you get through the impact you make. I think earlier impact was measured through social validation, and that's why the scale of impact had to be larger than now.
earlier, I guess it was tied in together a lot, right? Because if you made more impact, people knew you more.
True.
Now that is uncoupled. So now you have to balance that well, and that is again a skill, right? Keep balancing impact without having that whole ego thing of I am trying to save the world, which again Musk is kind of getting in that vibe now.
I was about to take that name, but yeah, I just ignored
Yeah, because
it.
I
But
did
you,
that. He did
Hmm.
like right now you just get into that. You get into at one point you get into ki I am the savior. I
Hmm.
will save everything. I'll get my hands here. I'll get my hands here. I did at a micro level in the company, right? Because I was like this company can help 8 billion people,
Yeah.
right? So how can I support it to help 8 billion people? I'll help everyone. Right? It goes back to the same thing.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to have the right product, you have to have the right culture, you have to have the right finances. And I went into all those problems. And eventually I realized I burnt out because I cannot do everything.
Hmm.
Right? Probably he might also come into that loop. But so that is where the thing was, okay, and like reading. So I read spirituality, psychology. I've been reading all of those angles, right? From all aspects. Because for me, it was like, okay, purpose of my life. I am the center. I want to be happy because I felt pain and I don't want to feel this pain again. And that kind of made me, it was hard, but there was something in my mind which was like, okay, I don't have to listen to everyone around me because they don't know what I have felt. Like they have not felt my feeling.
So it is
And
also good to like cut off the noises, right? Sorry. So just cut off the noises around your head, right? Whatever is coming from others. Just sometimes listen to yourself, understand yourself better by reading more or like whatever you feel good in, right? But just try to explore more basically. Just don't listen to others every time. Maybe that's
yeah,
what you did and you find it basically.
yeah, and it's a risky process. It's hard, right? Because now
Hmm.
to know yourself, you cannot sit in a room and know yourself. You have to
Definitely.
go out there, you have to do things. Then you realize from feedback from outside that what you are good at and what you're not good at. But
Hmm.
there is like you have to have that internal validation ki, okay, I even if I'm not good at this, I can learn and get good at this, or I'm not good at this and I don't want to learn it. Again, that distinction you have to start. So again, you have to take ownership of your own like experiences in that aspect. Because experiences going into things is one, and then what data are you getting? So you have to
True.
let go of your ego. Like there's a lot of these terms which I might throw around, but it is a hard process, and you have to let go of voices. I have like not lived at home. I've tried to consciously like in my breaks I went back home every break because I like my parents will not understand this. I went back home, and 1 or 2 months I was like, I think this is not the right environment. They got another job, which felt like okay, this is again a more impactful thing. Uh, then I came to Bangalore. Then I went back home for a year after COVID, and I kind of got a lot of past triggers, and like you start seeing the way you are making decisions is not coming from you. Like you have to start realizing that it is coming from your past conditioning,
True.
right? A lot of your parents' fears, like a lot of my thoughts about money is coming in from my parents' side, right? Because I'm a Sindhi, so we came in like 2 generations back. We moved to India after partition, and we had to leave a lot of things. So that is where it's like using less money, being more efficient with money, not wasting money. There is a deeply ingrained, right? So that is what the past 5 6 years I was trying to look at. But when I went into being and trying to handle their finances, that became a limitation, which was a strength before that. Because I was spending less money, I was learning to survive with less money. But then you have to start realizing how do you spend money effectively. Sometimes you have to spend more money at the right places. So you have to face those things as well. Ki, hey, like maybe how I think is not right, and learn more about things. So again, you have to put yourself out there. It is a lot of unlearning and realizing that a lot of these bits are not you, and it's coming in from environments.
It's like rediscovering yourself through working, right? And I think that's really
No,
great.
not only working, I think it's always about questioning yourself as well as like going out and exploring and facing those hardships in and out daily, right?
Yeah.
That is very important that he did actually. Amazing.
But I
It's
think
been,
one
it's
one question over
yeah.
here, Saga, sorry, is regarding your parents' perspective, right? So
Hmm.
one thing that even I just jokingly tell my parents that I'm gonna take a break now. So they're like, why do you want to take a break? Take a job instead and try to figure out on that job. At least you'll be earning and you are not like just sitting idly, right? So how do you try to convince your parents during those situations when you are taking a break?
So the first thing is you have to convince yourself, right?
Hmm.
The first step is you yourself should be sure that you will not be wasting time. Okay. You are sure why this break matters.
Hmm.
If you don't if you don't have clarity about why you are taking a break, essentially at least you should know why this break is important for you.
Correct.
If that is very clear in your head, then it's one level easier for you to convince other people. But first thing is, if you don't have conviction, it is very hard to convince anyone else,
True.
right? It's like
Very true.
negotiating a salary, right? If you say that I need 25 and they say no 15, and if you are not convinced with your 25 number, you will go to 18, 17, whatever.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
knowing your own value, knowing the value of your own time, and their concerns, understanding, again, it's more about why, like you can apply product management here and see it's not about the feedback they are giving you, it's about what people thinking when they're giving the feedback, right? It's not about the solution they are telling you. A lot of users will give you solutions, but what are the problem they are facing? Essentially they feel that, right, money, for them your money does not matter that much. They have their own money, but for them they might feel that, hey, you're not serious. That and like not, so they're like, if you will stay serious, right? If you take a break, you will not do anything. That is also coming in from, you will not be serious about life, you will just keep lazing around, you
yeah.
won't have motivation. So if you are sure that you have motivation to solve this problem, and you probably give yourself some timeline in your own head, okay, in 6 months I'll figure something out, in 3 months I'll figure something out.
Hmm.
Okay, if you are sure that, like, then it's easier to, like, tell other people or be like, okay, I need a break and I'm doing it for my own, like for me it was my mental health, right? Because it was my future, because I, like, if I don't take a break right now and I keep working, I'll have the same feeling 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, and I'll take a break then.
Hmm.
It
Better
will
to
come in eventually.
figure out now. Yeah.
Better to do it early when you have less liabilities, less the whole thing, than to
True.
do it later. And again, the balance is important, right? Why are you quitting? And have you tried changing the environment before you quit?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Those are key factors. Like essentially, it's not just you, it's your environment which is affecting you, right? So there are two things you can change. Either you can change yourself and adapt to the environment, or you can try to change the environment. And most of the times, it's like a mix of two both. Right? At one point you can change the environment and then there's some point you have to change yourself and realize hey, like this is how it would work. And sometimes then it doesn't work, and then you realize I tried my best, I tried to change myself, I tried to change the environment, but there is still not compatibility, so it's time to move on.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's pretty convincing. Anything else you wanted to share regarding your journey, and then I think we'll move on to the product thinking side of yours.
I think it's been pretty hard, right? Like just I've been meditating. So after Amsterdam, like last six years, I like to talk a lot, right? You can kind of sense it. But for 6 years, I went into my own box. I did not talk
Hmm.
because I like what I'm not confident what I'm speaking is the right thing. I am not sure, right? People people can come in hey, you are from IIT Bombay, you must be so smart. But when I don't feel smart, it just feels like imposter syndrome, right? A lot of us have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right? Again, these terms sound like people don't even know about these terms: imposter syndrome, savior complex, which I learned in the past 2 years because I wanted to untangle my own head, right? Okay, I want to like know yourself. How is the fastest way to know yourself? work with people who are working with people to know themselves. So
And
work with
sometimes
psychology.
acceptance also is like very necessary, right? I think like in every part of your journey, right, you accepted a lot of facts about yourself. Sometimes people are ignorant of the things that they are doing, right? Matlab they are shy enough to say it aloud, right? That I am facing the challenges even after that I passed out from IIT Bombay or so, right? Matlab it's okay to be facing those challenges, but solving yourself, right? Or untangling yourself is like the need of the hour that they should focus on. So that was really good that you are open about it and like always solving it.
I actually, like, when I was reading about learning about success and happiness and the whole thing,
Mm.
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
common thread which I realized with every successful person journey was they're talking about pain. And I could not, I like, okay, this is like I now I understand, but that point of time, what is this? Like, every journey has that point where, and then now you, when you read like about writing books and stories, and you read about the hero's journey, which is about the same thing, right? The three components to a hero's journey, where the first component is heroes going through their own life, living happy, whatever. Some shit goes down.
Yeah.
Then they have to untangle that, and they come out on the other side, right? The most important part of this story is not coming out on the other side or like the happiness. The part is the middle, where they had to work to get to that feeling. If you do not feel like you have work to get to that feeling, you'll always feel like you are on tiptoes, or you're like shaky. There's always less, like something can come
So
in
I
and
just
can.
heard this today, right? Innovation always happen at the time of crisis. Innovation can never happen at the success moments, right? For every company or for each one of us, right? Matlab, innovation can only happen in life at the time of our crisis, because at that time you go back and like you reflect, you understand, you again solve it, you make it better, right? So, yep,
Hmm.
I
So
think we can
उसमें वो ये
connect
कि
there.
अब then the angle is talking about crisis. Then the environment around you is very important, because
Hmm.
if when you are in crisis, the people around you are pushing you down, it's harder to come up.
Hmm.
So that is where people, like, if you're in crisis and you feel that there's a lot of more negative energy which is pushing you down, then your next effort is to figure out a way to get out of that position. Again, that can be getting out of the place physically, or having conversations, hard conversations, to change the environment. That I need help,
Makes
I
sense.
need, but like, when we grow up, we are not raised in an environment where we have to accept our flaws. Flaws are taken as seen as weaknesses and someone who is like pushover.
Hmm.
So that is the problem which kind of comes in the whole mix.
Yeah. True.
Let's move on to the next segment of product
Yeah,
management, I think.
I think one important aspect which myself being a product manager, also a lot of people want to know is how to improve your product thinking. Right? Apart from reading the terminologies about product, going into technical details, what else can you do in your life to really improve your product thinking? And what have you done so far, which has maybe evolved through time, the thinking of yours?
I think again, a lot of product thinking comes from like two components to it, right? One is other people's experience, one is your own experience.
Yeah.
Right? Let me just break it down. Again, try to take a messy thing. And so other people experience for aspect, what you can do is you can learn about how other people think about problems, looking at different frameworks, reading books, right? Like the whole, there's so much knowledge out there. There's podcasts out there. You can go and listen to Lenny's podcast. Like, again, throwing some names out so that people know what to search for,
Yes.
right? For Lenny's podcast, look at tweets by Shreyas. Uh, and just look for like, there's so many. Just Google top podcasts. So even if you don't like to read, you have some you can listen, right? You don't have to always just do reading. Reading is just an activity to get to an end goal. The end goal is learning, understanding. So understanding can happen through a visual medium, understanding can happen through an audio medium, it can happen through a reading medium as well. So that's one. The second is your own experience. So how you solve your own problems in life, essentially. That, like, product thinking essentially is looking at understanding the real problem Step one is understanding the real problem. So you can start doing it right now. People who are not a product manager right now can start doing it right now. Sit down, write down 5 biggest problems I have right now. Right? My parents don't understand me. My job is not like I'm not happy in my job. And try to look at what is the real reasons. What are like trying to different components of this. Try to break it down. Try to understand, is this a component? Am I the first person facing this problem? You realize you're not. So Google, learn from YouTube, what are the different things people are doing to solve this problem? And then create a solution which is unique to you, because your conditions are unique to you. But like the combination is unique, the individual problems might be similar to a lot of other people. So essentially learning from different aspects and then combining it together, that combination is what product thinking is about, right? It's not about the raw knowledge here and there. It's about how you combine these different factors. And that is what makes product management unique, and every problem everyone is solving very unique. Like, just give you an example, like a Uber product manager versus a Lyft product manager might seem like working in the same industry will have very similar solutions to the problem. But when you look at different factors, like a factor like company culture or company values in itself is a factor to how you solve the problem. So just that ability to look at the different factors is the first step to being a good product thinker.
Good. And I think in our conversations before, we had mentioned about learning from Stoicism, Buddhism, and different religions as well, right? So
Yeah.
how does that tie into improving your thinking on product?
So okay, let's so think, when do you have to do product thinking, right? Like essentially you're trying to solve a problem. That means you are in a problem, like there's a problem which you are trying to solve. When there's a problem, what like thing is, there's like two aspects. One is the logical aspect, and then there's the emotional layer on top. Right? Let's say you have a problem, but your boss is like, we need to solve this ASAP. So you might be solving the problem, but then there's this additional layer of the boss is also like pushing me to do this.
Deadlines.
There's deadline, there is pressure, there is matrix on top of this key, hey, DAUs are going down or we're not increasing at the same rate. So there's the factual information, and then there's layer of emotion and like a lot of other stress factors which can like add to stress. So stoicism, like the whole thing of like understanding about your own mind and understanding about how people deal with problems. So all of spirituality and all of it, it's not about God or something. It's about problems and how to solve them, how to think about them, be rational. And the faith aspect comes in, it makes you calm down to able to solve problems rationally. Right? It can feel like very voodoo, but it comes back to trying to make people be comfortable in their own skin. So be confident that even if the problem like is 50% solved, if you give your best, it's okay. So it helps you kind of understand yourself better and realize that all the feelings you are feeling in these terms are normal, and kind of be comfortable, be in control, and then make rational decisions.
To like listen about from you, right? You haven't done your degree in product management, but though you have transitioned through various PM roles, right? मतलब पहले product का बना रहे थे, and then you switch to finance, and then to some other roles, right? In every role, like how you started learning around it, maybe it will help people around, right? मतलब they'll just not stick to one PM role, but also explore other roles.
So I think the first role, again, I like was dropped into the whole product role, right? Keep the whole political consulting thing. And that at that point of time, there was no product person, no senior product person around me. The designers were poster designers, people who designed artifacts and who did not know about UX design or UI design. And I was on my own, and at that point I was like, okay, I need to prove myself, right? Because I was like, okay, I don't know. I was in that gap. So what I did was, again, understanding product management. So looked at books, looked at Inspired, listened to Inspired by Marty Kagan, and tried to understand the basics. So that is the first step, right? I read about marketing at that point of time. So Seth Godin has a book called This is Marketing. So I was listening to that. So look at the fundamentals, the people who have been doing it, and read 1 or 2 books, which will give you a structure of what this world is about. Right? And maybe just like right now with internet, it's great. Right? You type the top books for marketing to understand marketing fundamentals, and just read 1 or 2 books, listen to 1 or 2 books, or now you have talks, you can listen to 1 or 2 talks for like 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. So it'll take you max to max 10 hours to understand the different aspects of any new industry you're getting into. Right? And that is like the first foundational bit. And then you have to get into a habit of continuously learning and upskilling. So you cannot just do that foundation and be like, okay, now I'm ready for the job, obviously. So then there is the bit of actually learning on the job, plus learning from people who have been doing this for years, so that you don't make the same mistakes.
Definitely.
Because you don't, like, that is the most important bit. You don't have to learn from your own mistakes. You have to start learning about that, right? Learn from other people's mistakes, and you will make your own mistakes, but at least you'll make less mistakes, right? You cannot go to zero, but at least you'll come down by 40-50%, which is great, because every time you make a mistake, you'll look at yourself, why am I so stupid, and like whatever. That you'll get into that whole loop, right? I make mistakes, and why did that happen? Because that will impact other people as well. You're not always about yourself. You start thinking about how it will impact other people. So just think about other people. If you do something wrong right now, it is impacting maybe 20 developers who are developing something. It is impacting the business. It is impacting maybe shareholders if you have shareholders. It is impacting investors. It is impacting, and it is impacting you as well, right? So it's look at all the different factors. Don't forget about yourself, but look at you spending some time on learning helps everyone in the ecosystem. It's helping you, it's helping your family, because they are less worried. Because you are less worried. Because you are confident that if something goes wrong, I know I can tackle it. So it gives you more confidence. So then there are like so many different ways to learn, right? Now you can learn from LinkedIn. You can learn from like podcasts. You can learn from reels as well. But again, you have to find the right balance, because that is where the game is about, where you give your attention and trying to balance. You do not have to kind of. So I have a very love-hate relationship with my phone, right? Because it has it's given me so many positive things, because I can carry and put on my earphones and have positivity in my ear all the time. But it can also positivity, or like good people talking about negativity, right? It's not just positivity. Like, don't want to go into the whole toxic positivity phase. But you just have to realize that you have to find the right balance, and you should not discard a medium just because it is not working for you. Or like reels as a way, it kind of hooks you in. So maybe you stopped seeing reels, but then you look at some other place. I have 4 Instagram pages. So every page I follow different kinds of people. So I have a music page where I only follow that. Like, I know if I want to listen to music, I have my attention on that page, and I'm kind of scrolling there. I'm listening to new music. If I want, like, I have a product page. So product page, I'm following other product people and entrepreneurs and things like that. So every time I'm scrolling and stuck into reels there,
you're not wasting your time. At least you're choosing your content wisely. I think this is really good. I like it.
so these are tips, like, but again, and I also have timers on all these apps. So this, you have to realize that this whole consumption thing can also be like you keep consuming and you feel like you are doing something. So I think Tim Ferriss or James Clear were talking about like this distinction between motion and action. I guess James Clear talked about that a lot. You have to realize that you have to take action. A lot of times we are stuck in the motion phase. Watching reels is motion. Reading a book is motion. You have to start action, putting it out in your life and actually applying it, and like driving you to an outcome. So you have to balance both things.
It's not like always about understanding the problems, but also like to solve it, you need to execute some, basically, right?
Exactly. Because the nuances you understand the nuances only when you execute.
Yeah.
Right? Because every situation is what you read in a book and what is happening in your real life might seem similar, but they are not, because the factors have changed, time has changed, so many things have changed, right? The technology has changed. So the more when you apply, you get feedback, ki, hey, this is not working. So you have to be like aware for that feedback.
Right.
And I guess your habits help there, like this awareness, essentially talking about awareness. So that is another path to how to get awareness. And then you talk about habits and meditation and journaling and things like that. So like those are, so to be a good product manager, it's not about being good at the job. It's about that whole thing surrounding doing your job as well. As a good human being or whatever, we could talk about that. Like, so
Interesting. Yeah, I think Sagar, we've talked about a lot of things from your journey about well-being, about mental health, product thinking, product management, a lot of things, right? But as you mentioned, music over here. I think just to end this segment on a musical note, um, is Ashik Banaya Apne your favorite song because something is being made in the song and that the product thinking is in place? Very bad joke, but yeah.
wow. Most random question ever. It's
You don't need to
there.
answer. You just need to say your favorites.
He was
I can go
about to
break down
explain
that
the
song
song.
as well. I can actually go break down that song, right? So,
Please don't. Please don't.
I listen to more like house and techno, less Hindi music.
Okay.
Even though Ashik Banana Hai Apna, if I'm in a karaoke, I might still be singing it. If someone's like, let's sing it, I'll go and sing it. So that's not
Okay.
an. But I actually like listen to all kinds of music. I've started listening to more dharmic music as well, because there's a lot of meditation music. Like I've across the board. Like again, jobs to be done by different kinds of music at different points of time.
So just
So
to capture a segment, right? How's your day look like? What you do outside of work? How you manage your time? Just to have the segment as well, right?
A
To
day in the life
understand.
of Sagar Mandhani.
Yes.
That's the
you would
segment.
not want to you like my day right now. A lot of people will be jealous with my day right now, because I'm just doing one project, and I'm trying to like look at optimize the money I'm earning with the hours I'm giving. So I'm trying to optimize my per hour rate, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at spending 6 to 8 hours on that project a week. And the other projects I'm working on essentially is the other things around that. So one is the project I'm working for money for that client. Then a layer on top is designing the whole program around that, so that like next time I do a similar project, I don't have to start from scratch. I have a whole
Right.
framework ready. Week
Hmm.
1, week 2, week 3, week 4, this is how we'll go and execute. So
Yeah.
creating that layer. Then another layer on top of it is, now as I go into consulting, I need to get inflow. So what are the ways to get inflow of things? So spending that energy, that can be through putting more energy on social media, networking with more people, spending time doing podcasts like this, and coming out and talking to people, putting myself out there, making some reels, understanding that process. That is another project. Then my own systems of time management, documentation. Uh, Now I'm trying to create a whole life OS on Notion for myself, because I realize that one of my key weaknesses is I tend to forget a lot of things, right? I forget people as well, right? If I meet someone like two months back, 1 month back, 1 week back as well, if I meet someone for let's say half an hour, 20 minutes, but they were an interesting person who I could have connected with later, but I
Hmm.
just forgot about messaging them, and now I forget everything. And when I see them next, either I don't see them next, and I've missed that opportunity of connecting with someone who could have helped, like I could have helped or they could have helped creating a good relationship, or I connect with them and I've forgotten about what they do. So, like that whole system around remembering people, remembering stories, like for my of my own life, which I can share, my own experiences in different jobs. So I'm kind of documenting all of that. Uh, Learnings from different sources, books I'm reading. So right now, a lot of it, I'm trying to put everything in my own head, ki how to have frameworks in my own head. Now I'm putting it down on paper. So I'm trying to learn that whole process.
Hmm.
Ki now I'm confident that the next decision I make will be decently good. rather than it like I'm not looking for perfect now. I'm looking for decently well thought about, even though I might not be able to articulate it to you, but I know my gut says that this is the right direction to go to. So now I have to learn to articulate those decisions better. Because as a product manager, initially in 0 to 1 journeys, you can do gut work, but then you have to, at one point, you have to give more data, right? We're talking about more data and more sensible. Yeah.
So basically, a lot of things going on in life right now, but you are still saying it's a pretty chill day that happens on a regular basis.
Yeah, because let's say 8 hours I'm putting there, but because I'm not pushing like I'm not sitting down and sitting in front of a computer. Sometimes I'm getting a thought at like 9:30 a.m. I'm taking my computer out, doing a 15-minute thing, keeping it back, and then coming back to maybe going for a swim, sitting in the sun, right? Like I got like I have some cats in the society which I've befriended, and I go and feed them. Uh, I do like go for my boxing workouts, and like I start gymming recently. So pura holistically, I'm trying to figure. I'm also like another project which is like on a personal level is like finding a partner essentially from a family side. That pressure is coming. So I'm looking at that whole industry of like matchmaking industry and trying to look at the whole arrangement and setup and trying to break that down. That is something which I've been deeply looking at. I don't want to build a product there, but again, I have to do product thinking there to for me to find the right partner, because that is like the biggest thing. Like more, I don't want to fuck that up.
Or
Okay,
maybe we can put that in your YouTube description right in this video.
Yeah, if any potential matches watching this, please reach out to him at these handles.
Sindhi matches right now because there are constraints. So we're looking
Sindhi
at
matches
Okay.
only.
matches only. Because like if you're going for something fresh, you should. Did not want as much trouble like back at home. So okay, now looking at the narrowed down target audience and finding the right fit there. So that's happening, and yeah, those are the different things, and helping people out as well, right? Just talking to friends, and that is helping me also refine my own thinking in that aspect.
Great, man.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we had good conversation with you. Really enjoyed it. How about you? Did you enjoy?
Yes, I had a lot of fun. I like to speak. Like I actually
Like
that's
this.
one thing I just been reflecting on, like, and it's been 6 years now, and exactly 6 years now. Today is 21st, right? Exactly almost 6 years now since I went into that whole shell of I need to figure this bit out. I need to understand what life is, right? And I understood about business, I understood about relationships, I understood about mental health, I understood about all these different aspects. And it was not about to help someone else, it was about to help myself. And now, because I spent that much time and energy, and not like, and I did merit like all those spending time on my own habits, even though it's hard to build habits. It's hard. That whole process is hard. Like meditating, at one point of time, I was meditating for 1 hour a day.
Wow. Okay,
But
that's very difficult.
I did that for 179 consecutive days, right?
Almost.
In 2021. And we went for a being offsite for 4 days in Goa. And we were discussing being, which was again a mental health app, that doing mental health the right way. And because of that, like the first 2 days I meditated, third day I missed. And my 179-day streak got over at that point of time. And like we already thinking about like streaks are not the right way to talk about mental health and growth.
Yes.
Right? So, and that time I just felt that pain of losing that 179-day streak. Because the next day I meditated, it started from 1. And I was like, yeah, like this is the problem with streaks and with the way mental health is measured in the world right now.
Correct.
So, and I was back at home because this meditation was happening for 1 hour. Then I was journaling for 40 minutes. So it's like that whole thing of spending energy and time there, not looking at money, because I was looking at, okay, impact, less money wali jobs. Did not want to go into fancy, pura aiming for fancy places because impact wahan pe kam ho jayega. So all those different levers. And now I'm like, okay, now I need to figure out my finances, and I need to figure out like my time as well. So now the optimizing is more money for the hours, because I don't want to just give it 60, 70 hours of my week to just like one cause. Wahan pe bhi abhi issue ho gaya tha, because I was doing a lot of mechanical work. So like I had to work for 20-30 hours a week, work with founders on big problems, and which can become bigger, like which can impact more people. So kind of decentralizing the impact rather than trying to do it from one company and trying to reach 8 billion people. It's just decentralizing it. So because realizing that startups are hard, a lot of things can fail, right? So if you have all your eggs in one basket, you will be more anxious. Because if this thing doesn't work out, all your impact, you feel that it is going to be more impactful, but if it is not reaching those people, it is not impacting. So it is like you're hedging, using some financial concepts here, that you're hedging it. If this doesn't work, but at least you've worked on 4 or 5 different problems, that 2 or 3 would work.
It's like a VC investing money in different companies.
So I'm investing time. Yes, I'm investing time.
Flexible.
I'm looking at that as I'm investing time, because essentially when you read spirituality and read all of these things, you realize time is the asset,
Yeah.
right? I lost a very close friend right before being, like 1 month before I started working on being with these people. And that kind of shook me, because the last conversation I had with him, he was unhappy. He was like, he was the one I looked up to, because he was doing a lot of startups trying to like move things. And he was like, I feel like a failure because I have not succeeded yet. And I'm like, bro, like you inspire me to take these risks in my life. Right. And he was supposed to come to, I was at Bhopal at that point of time, and he was supposed to come there. And 3-4 days before he was supposed to come, I hear the news that he got into an accident and he passed away. And the 1 month after that, like, and then I was meditating, and every time I meditated, this thought came up in my mind. That conversation came up in my mind. And then it became too personal, because COVID time to chal raha tha, everyone was feeling it, but then it became personal. I need to, like, I have to go and solve this. Like, there's no other option for me. Like, so that is where it was like, okay. And then like this guy was sad, and he told me, he might have felt that for so many months now. He told me at that point of time. So a lot of people close to me might be feeling the same thing, but not sharing it.
Yeah.
I was feeling that few years back. I've been feeling that for such a long time now, and I was not sharing it because like no one would understand. So like everyone needs that, and that is what led to being, and now it's like that is helping me kind of.
सोशल
And now
मीडिया पर जितना हैपनिंग दिखती है लाइफ, राइट, मतलब लोगों
है
की
नहीं।
उतनी है नहीं, और people are basically sometimes ignoring these facts, or even after accepting, right, not talking to others enough about it to spread awareness. That's what the concern is, and that's what this podcast is all about, right? Just coming up, talking about people who has been there, done that thing, and like spotted these things in their life, so that at least they will educate others, right? So yeah, definitely, Sagar, it really helped, right?
Thanks for being so candid.
Yeah,
Sorry
thank
for
you so much.
but thanks for being so candid on the podcast. And I think we had a really good conversation, Sagar. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to many more collaborations.
Yeah,
going forward.
I am looking forward to it, because I want to sort out my content creation bit, and I would want to rely on people who are actually doing it already, right? So it's a great, right? Because we are talking, it helps you, it helps me. We can crop a lot of clips here and then use it in our own contents, and like
Yes,
it's
definitely.
okay, perfect. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much,
having